Hey, it's Tuesday, the 3rd. Yes, the 3rd of October, 2023, and it's time for the Red Shoe Business Club for today. I'm Mike Wright, owner of Tax Right, the sponsor of the Red Shoe Business Club, and um, we're here to talk about why and what for. Um, Look, I've mentioned this before, and it's very important. When you're on an entrepreneurial journey, what you're doing is trying to manifest a vision. You have a vision of something for the future that you find worthwhile, whether it's something as simple as fixing a problem that you've had yourself, or a problem that you see other people have, or whether you're trying to fix a problem that's bigger than yourself or other people, maybe a national problem. Or it could be as simple as wanting to find a better way to accomplish something. Whatever your vision for the future is, the improvement that you want to see in the future, that is the reason that you've become an entrepreneur. This is a concept, this idea of the vision, this idea of the reason that you do what you do is your why. Oftentimes, when you look at this question from the standpoint of what's your why, and you'll have people ask you that from time to time, the first thing that people come up with is this idea that, well, my why is to support my family. My why is to pay my bills. My why is to become rich. All of those things that I just mentioned are not the reason that you are doing what you do. Those are the result of doing what you do. And if you're simply looking for money to live on, then employment would be much better for you, because then all you have to do is sign up, show up every day, do what you're told, and take your paycheck. But a person with an entrepreneurial vision sees something more than that. And as we talked yesterday, and we've talked earlier, part of what that amounts to is trying to figure out what it is that you should do. And the idea that you need to be able to plan, or you need to be able to find out what is the one thing that you need to do. You're listening to these words, these are all words that I used yesterday. These are the things that come out of the idea of your why. The reason I put the what for up there is because the what for is, it sort of puts a more practical standpoint on the why. What do you hope to accomplish? What do you hope to achieve? What do you hope to have as a result? What's the transformation that will happen if your vision is achieved? That gives some real meat to the idea of the why. I can't describe how important this idea of the vision is in any kind of activity that you do. It's obvious to me, and it should be obvious to you, that all of the stuff that we have to go through as business owners has to be for some reason. That's the what for. Why are we putting up with all this stuff? Why do we subject ourselves to having an accountant work on our accounts? Why do we subject ourselves to paying fees and to the government for licenses, or to be able to do business whatsoever? Don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but I am appalled by the fact that in the state of New York, Trump can be stopped from doing all business activities, that he can be denied the ability to do business at all based upon some alleged malfeasance that he's done. He should be subject to some kind of punishment or fine or whatever if in fact the malfeasance is accurate. But why that should mean that everything else he does is wrong, that he's stopped from doing things on his own account forever is not right. Does not seem right to me. And I hope it doesn't seem right to you either. Because you're a business person as well, just like I am. And being in business means that you want the freedom to be able to do what you need to do. Why you are doing your business is also important. This is a philosophical question here. I don't exactly know what I want to put down, except that another thing in the news this week has to do with the government filing suit against Amazon. It's an antitrust suit which says that Amazon is exercising monopolistic authority over the market. And that, I think, is a legitimate thing for the government to do. So am I being hypocritical? No, I don't believe I'm being hypocritical, because here's the point. The business community needs to have people that have the freedom to do the things that they need to do to make their businesses successful, so that their why can be accomplished, so that they can try their why, so that they have the opportunity to fail. These are all themes that I talk about quite a bit, that I'll talk about with you quite a bit. So why should the government have the right to tell Amazon it's too big? Why should the government have the right to stop a business from doing something that they want to do? Well, because the government also has the responsibility of making sure that, insofar as it's possible, everybody has the same right. And so if you're in a position where you become so big that your influence and your ability, not as the government, but as a competitive business, to interfere with and stop other businesses from acting appropriately, there needs to be a power high enough to stop that. Competition is vitally important, and businesses have an opportunity to work around competition. And this is where your why comes in once again. Excuse me. I'm reminded of situations that came up several years ago where people in small towns were trying to block the construction and the opening of a Walmart, for much the same reason as we're talking about the antitrust provisions for Amazon. And the idea is that because Walmart is so large, so cheap, able to get so much stuff, that it undercuts the local merchants, and therefore it should be stopped. Well, I'm all for local merchants. I'm a local merchant. I'm not H&R Block. I'm TaxRight. So I understand that fully. But here's the thing that I want you to think about, and this is part of your why as well. What you are selling is not, what I am selling is not tax preparation. What I am selling is the idea that I will work with you to make sure that the situation that you find yourself in as a business owner or as an individual, as a family person, that we find the best possible way to minimize the tax burden that you have. And that requires that I bring you a great deal of information, a great deal of knowledge, but that I also spend time working with you. My why is based more on the idea of how can I see to it that the people that I serve get the best result from the tax preparation that I do that's possible. Yes, I like to make money from it. I make a living from it. As you'll recall from earlier conversations, being in business is an attempt to create a livelihood, or in good faith to make a profit. And I'm certainly attempting to do that. But I'm doing that because I'm providing help, because I'm providing a service. That's my why. That's what I'm doing it for. When I first started doing taxes, I got started doing it because as an insurance auditor, I was driving around so much that I was getting tired of it. My first thought every morning in the wintertime particularly was, Is it snowing in Fort Wayne? Because I didn't want to have to go fight with that. So I got to thinking, what can I do that does not require me to make that decision every morning? Well, that was my first why. My first why there was simply to avoid a trip in the snow to Fort Wayne. But as I began to work with people, when I found out that I could do taxes by simply telling people that I can do your taxes, and when I found out that there was software that could do the mechanics for me, and then as I worked with people, I learned and studied, and I grew both my experience and my understanding of the tax law. And I was able to deal with individuals that came to me for help, and I was able to help them work things out. Didn't always mean that I was able to save them money, because sometimes all I could do was justify to them what they had to do, however unpleasant it was. But it also allowed me to get the idea that by helping people with their planning, by helping people understand what they could be doing, and that would save them money. And so my why matured as my involvement with taxes changed over time. The same thing should be true with you. It's quite possible that you decide to go into business first and foremost because you need money. I oftentimes tell people that starting a business of your own is one of the best ways that you can deal with a personal financial situation that's not very good. Even if it's a part-time business, it allows you to increase the amount of money that you have flowing in. These are all why questions. None of these are questions about how do I do that? That comes later. None of these are questions about what do I do? That comes later. It's the why that you have to zero in on to begin with. And if you're trying to market to other people, it's the why that you want to market, not the how. They don't care how, they just want the result. It's not the what. They may want the result, but how do they have confidence that you're the one to give them that result? That goes back to the why. So it's important for you. If you do nothing else today, but spend a few minutes thinking about what I'm talking about right now, why is it that you do what you do? And if the only thing you can think of is because I need the money, then your mindset is more employee rather than entrepreneurial. Because it might not be your first thought. Let's face it, we're all trying to make a living. But you should be able to spend some minutes and think about the fact that, well, I do that because I want to help Suzy Q, or I do that because I want to help people avoid paying too much for their mortgage, or I do that because I want to help people get control of their credit rating. Whatever it is, find those things and then build what you're doing around that. In closing, let me point out, and I've used this before, if you're talking about a not-for-profit business, so much entrepreneurial energy comes from the not-for-profit world. And the not-for-profit world is, by definition, focused on the aid that they can give to society as a whole, not what the entrepreneur in that case is going to benefit, although the experiences of the entrepreneur, even in the not-for-profit world, may come out of the experiences that that person had, a problem they're trying to solve. But if you're going into the not-for-profit world as an entrepreneur, again, by definition, you're not doing it to make a profit. So think about, what would you do in your business if you weren't going to be paid for it? How would that be? What would that look like? Think about that as you go forward. And because I think it's a very important thing. One last thing I want to tell you before we go on, or before we close out today. There's a TED Talk by Paul Sinek or Simon Sinek? It's Simon Sinek, I think. He's the author of What is Your Why? Or Start With Why, I'm sorry. The book is entitled Start With Why. Excellent book. But this 15-minute TED Talk that he gives is well worth everybody's time. So I suggest you go to TED Talk, or look up on Google, TED Talk, Sinek, why, whatever you want to put in there to get this particular thing. And look at the chart that he draws and shows the difference. It's an excellent illustration of what I'm talking about here. And he goes on to talk about some other issues that are more directly associated with business creation. But think about your why, not about money, but about what makes you get up in the morning. And like I said, it's something that you have to do periodically because it isn't the first thing that comes to mind. So for today, that's going to be it. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about planning for the fourth quarter. So we're going to see why are we planning for the fourth quarter. So take care.